Good. How about yourself? Appreciate you guys having me on.
Thanks,
Doing
buddy.
okay.
Doing all right?
What's the trip like out to Seattle, and is it a different week when you make that long of a trip?
It definitely is. I mean, it's definitely a long trip. You go out there on a Friday instead of a Saturday. You got to be more in business mode earlier on in the week as far as your preparation, for the game. Normally on a Friday is date night for me to relax and hang out at my own house. But on this Friday, when you're going across country, you're in a new city, in a new hotel. So it's a little bit different, but at the end of the day, it's not too bad.
What was the team's preparation like? Because after you guys got the win, we talked about this last week. You had kind of that crazy locker room scene, and everybody went wild when Ron said Victory Tuesday, and you were off until Wednesday. So what was it like preparation-wise for the team?
To be honest, most guys still went in there on that off day on the Tuesday. We just didn't formally meet, as a team. So for most guys, it was just a normal week. Went in there, worked out on Monday and Tuesday, and then Wednesday was our game plan and for the run, and Thursday was for pass, and then Friday was, going through everything, and then Saturday was walking. So it was a pretty normal week compared to every other week, to be honest.
On the flight, are you a book guy? Are you an iPad movie guy? What is the move, especially I'm guessing that's a 6+ hour flight out to Seattle.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm definitely an iPad movie guy, for sure.
What did you watch on the way out? Anything recent? Anything current?
So on the way out, I actually slept the entire time. On the way back,
Brother in arms.
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched The Flash and Aquaman. So,
big superhero guy. Look at that.
Oh,
Get the game off your mind?
Oh, yeah, definitely. It was a long flight. Our plane had a little bit of issues, so we sat at the airport for like 2.5 hours before we left, too. So
that adds insult to injury.
Hold on. So you're on the plane for 2.5 hours while there's an issue, or you're in still in the terminal?
We were on the bus for an hour and a half, and then we were on the plane for another about hour to hour 15.
Oh, Jesus.
Who do you sit next to on the plane? Do you have kind of regular seating?
So I sit beside Payne and in front of Kendall Fuller.
All right.
Hanging out with the defense. Here, this is going to sound like a jerk question, but it's something that we were talking
I'm glad
about.
you framed it like that.
I'll be honest, but it's a snarky question, but Eric Bieniemy is the associate head coach of the team. And we wanted to know if he's involved with the defense at all.
No, not too much. I mean, he spends most of his time on the offense. So, I mean, unless he's doing things behind the scene that I'm not seeing, he doesn't really spend too much time with the defense. No.
Right. All right, so just talk about the game and just sort of the frustration level for you guys. I mean, it's kind of a back-and-forth game. I know at the end of the day, probably gave up a little more yardage than you wanted at times. But, we got an opportunity to make a stop, send it into overtime, and we couldn't get it done. What happened down the stretch? What are just sort of your overall evaluation of it?
I thought first half we played really good. I think we started the second half really good. Then they got that 75-yard little dump pass that they took off. We got to be better at limiting explosives. And that's kind of been the thing all season. We played good because even though they had all that yards, whenever they would get down into the red zone, we were able to get them off the field and make them kick field goals. And as a defense, if you can do that, that's a win.
Right.
So it was just limiting explosives in the game. We, played undisciplined, committed penalties, had extended drives, and I mean, it was tough. It was hard for me to give exactly what happened because I haven't watched the film on it just yet.
Mm-hmm. What was it like for you, sort of in the trenches? Did you feel like you were close to making even more plays?
Yeah, I always kind of feel that way. I feel like I had a decent game against my guard. I was able to, get some pressure on Geno Smith. Obviously, I wish I could have brought him down a couple of times, but we were able to force intentional grounding, get some holding calls, kind of make them uncomfortable. So I feel like we played pretty good, but not good enough to win. That's really all that matters.
So, John, back-to-back weeks of questionable calls against Commanders defensive players, the Forbes ejection this week, the KJ Henry play in the Pats game. Are you guys, looking around like what are the refs going to call against us next? How are the refs going to bone us in this game? The Forbes hit, okay, there was helmet to helmet, but didn't seem like it warranted an ejection. Is that in your mindset that the refs are They're just looking for something to call in these games.
No, I try really hard to stay away from blaming the refs because then that's an easy way out from accepting accountability for what me as a player and us as a team can do to be better. But looking at that play with Emmanuel Forbes, I mean, I feel like seeing a guy get ejected is something you only see if it's like maliciously, like clearly he was not making a football play trying to hurt a guy, like a play that does not belong in the game. And when I look at the Emmanuel Forbes play, I was very confused how they just decided to eject him. I don't know. The whole thing was a little bit confusing to me. I don't try to focus on what the refs are doing with calls, but the ejection part was a little bit bizarre to me. I've never seen a player get ejected for that. That's normally just a 15-yard penalty, and if you want to fine him later, go ahead. But to eject him, that's something you see in college for targeting, not in the NFL. So
yeah,
did not understand that whatsoever.
And Jonathan, the maddening part is the inconsistency, because you go back to early in the season when Logan Thomas got headhunted in the end zone by Kareem Jackson. He wasn't ejected for that hit. Now, eventually he paid a fine for it. He may have been ejected for another dirty hit like that in a subsequent week, but he wasn't thrown out of the game, and that hit was much more malicious than the one Forbes put on Lockett.
Yeah, no, I mean, no offense. Forbes is 160. Like, he has to throw everything he has to make plays. And again, I think it comes down to intent. I think as a football fan, you can watch that play and understand Forbes is trying to make a play. He's not trying to just go out there and hurt the guy. He's not, like we all understand when someone's doing something that's dirty, or when someone's doing something just to hurt a guy. That's not a dirty play. A legal play, sure, if you want to call that, sure. But yeah, I didn't understand that. I just feel so bad for Forbes.
All right, let's go through that last drive. So you tie the game. They get the ball back with 52 seconds left on the 25-yard line. It really comes down to two plays, right? 3rd and 4 at the Seattle 31. Geno hits DK Metcalf for 17 yards. And then later, right before the field goal, 24 seconds left at 2nd and 10, hits DK for 27 yards. Do you remember the defensive calls? And the second one, if you watch the film, Obata was inches away from deflecting the pass. Did you feel like you were close? Let's just talk about your job. I know you can never really talk about the back end, but what was the call there? Did you feel like you could get close to Geno to provide pressure?
The first one we had a blitz, so I was able to get pretty close and was able to get the ball out really quickly. The second one, I'll be honest, I have no idea what we called. I really don't remember it. I remember I got the slide that play, I'm pretty sure, so I made the inside move to try to balance the rush lane. And, I mean, again, I wasn't seeing behind me, so I have no idea what was going on back there. But they made the play and we didn't. That's essentially what it comes down to.
Hey, Jonathan, have you guys blitzed more in the last 2 weeks since you guys traded or moved on, from Chase and Montez? I assumed that would happen, and I saw some yesterday, but maybe not as much as I had anticipated.
I think we definitely have blitzed a little bit more. That being said, I think Casey and F.A. and James have been playing phenomenal. But as far as like how much more we're blitzing than what we have been, yeah, that's really hard for me to say without looking at the analytics behind it, just to be honest with you.
Why do you say they've been playing phenomenal? I take your word for it, but from the outside looking in, it doesn't seem like we're able to get as much pressure as we have in the past.
Yeah, no, I see how you could say that, but if you go back and look at that Patriots game, look at how quickly Mac Jones is getting it out. And when I say they're playing really well, it is very hard to do this because unless you're watching the all 22,
right,
this is how people judge it on. It is so difficult to look at sacks and determine how a player's playing based off sacks. So if that's the case, Casey's had 2 intentional grounding calls taken sacks away from essentially. Mm-hmm. And, the quarterback is clearly going down. It's going to be a sack, and he just dirts the ball. So instead of taking the sack, he gets an intentional grounding. So, sacks is
was that Casey that had that play where Geno was falling down? Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
And then he had another one against Atlanta. So you give him those 2 sacks, that's 6 sacks on the year. You know what I mean? We're probably talking a little bit different about him.
And he had a tackle for a loss yesterday.
Exactly. So it's hard to judge an end or a tackle or a D-line solely off of sacks because there's so much more that goes into it And I feel like sacks are a situational stat. Now, again, I'm not trying to say they don't tell how a guy's playing. But that's not the only information you can go off, to determine how a guy's playing.
No, you got to look at it all. Like nowadays, pressures are tracked. I don't know how they determine a pressure. And for example, on Thursday night, your former teammate Montez Sweat had 8 pressures. And so the people from Chicago were saying he's making an impact, but he did not have a sack.
Oh, he just dropped him somehow.
He just dropped off the line.
He's calling back. Yeah.
I don't know where Tuhill falls on the pressure now.
Ask him again.
Well,
John,
you there,
bud?
Yeah, I'm here.
I was just pointing out that, in the Bears game, which was Thursday night, Montez Sweat was credited with 8 pressures. He didn't have a sack. But I was looking at the stories from the Chicago media, and they were thrilled by Montez's play in that game.
Yeah, exactly. Again, sacks, people don't understand what has to go right for you to get a sack. Not only do you have to beat your man, which, out of 10 rushes as a defensive end, I think top ends in the league are winning at, 35%, 36% pass rush win rate is top 2 or 3. So out of 10 reps, you're winning 3 to 4 of them. Out of those 3 and 4 reps, you better hope that the other D linemen do their job to keep the quarterback in the pocket. You better hope the DBs on the back end are holding their coverage and making sure the quarterback doesn't have anywhere to go. You got to hope that once you get there, you got to tackle the quarterback above the knees, below the shoulders, but not putting all your force on him without hitting him in the head while you're getting held. And then on top of that, so it's a lot. It's a lot. And then on top of that, you're trying to beat the other guys there while doing it. So people, you see why guys are so excited when they get a sack, because it is so hard to do.
Yeah, and to your point, Micah Parsons right now, at least from what I see, is number 1 at 33% pass rush win rate.
Yeah. So out of 10 rushes, he's winning 3 of them.
It's pretty sick.
When you put it in that perspective, it's not like, you know what I mean? So it's tough. It's tough for sure.
John, what was the mood like in the locker room afterwards? Obviously a frustrating loss. I feel like as a fan, like it's over. The schedule's so tough. I know you guys don't feel that way. What is your perspective here with these last 7 games, whatever the hell we have coming up?
I think as a team, we just have to make a decision. We can either pack it in for the season, which we're not going to do, or we can circle the wagons, focus on what we got to do to get the correct adjustments made and finish the season strong. 7 games left. There's so many things that can go our way, but we got to decide to do it. So, we're going to see what everybody's mindset is come on Wednesday, and, we're going to go from there. But the team, I know we're going to come out here, we're going to compete, and we're going to work. And we've shown that when we do things the right way and when we play our brand of football, we can beat anybody. So
you face the Giants next. You played them a couple weeks ago, 14-7 game. They're going to have Tommy DeVito at quarterback most likely, unless Tyrod Taylor comes back. Daniel Jones out for the year. But then you have the Cowboys after that on Thanksgiving. I know that you take it one game at a time, but when you have such a short turnaround after the Giants, where you're only going to have 3 days before a Thanksgiving game, is there any preparation in advance for the Cowboys? What do you do?
No. There might be some amongst the coaches, but as, from the player side and what they're communicating with us, there's going to be no preparation for the Cowboys, because one thing I've learned about the NFL is any given Sunday. I'm telling you, and I truly believe it, you look at stories year in and year out. You look at Joshua Dobbs and what he's doing over there in Minnesota. So I've learned that you never take any opponent for granted, and you give every opponent their due respect, and you take it one Sunday at a time. So if we don't win this next Sunday, the Sunday against the Cowboys isn't going to matter. So we all in on right now, the here and the now.
Hey, I know you've been very complimentary of Sam this year. I just wanted to get your thoughts after another pretty outstanding game from the kid. He did have the fumble, which didn't kill us, but it's never good. But overall, your thoughts on Sam yesterday?
He's given us every opportunity to win the game, and again, that's all we could ask for. When you look at Sam, and I'll say it again, he's our franchise quarterback, and that always gives you a chance in the NFL, and that's what is so exciting. In the past, when you don't have that quarterback situation figured out, there's not much hope. The days of having a great defense and special teams carry you to a Super Bowl, it's kind of over with. You got to have a quarterback who can compete at a high level late in the season to make the necessary throws and put points on the board, and I feel like we have that.
Hey, by the way, can you tell that, like, Jack is under extra stress, like, right now? Can you sense that when you're in meetings with him and Ron?
No, I want to say that because at the end of the day, I feel like we're all under stress. Yes, he's the defensive coach, so he's going to take the brunt of the scrutiny, but at the end of the day, like, my brand is being displayed every Sunday on that defense, so I take great pride in what we do. So, we're all, equally not stressed but locked in and focused on what we have to do to improve week in and week out. But just to see him be stressed extra than what he normally would be, no. This is his 34th season coaching, I think. So, he's probably seen just about everything you can see in the highs and the lows.
Man, he's coached for 34 years.
That's a long
he
career.
He played in the league, too.
That's almost as long as we've been on radio, John.
You know what? He looks good for his age.
I'm about to say maybe coaching and playing 34 years, something like that.
Yeah. I was going to say, is he 70?
John,
he's 60.
When Jack sits down with you guys week after week, is it kind of a reiteration of the same things, or like what's that like? You've been with him for years now. Does he bring new wrinkles, or is it just fundamentals pretty much like every week?
You always got to start off with the fundamentals, but we're definitely incorporating new things. But I'm not a big fan of just blaming coach. I feel like that's an easy way out. I feel like the way our defense has been performing has been an issue that we all have a hand in. You know what I mean? Coaches and players equally. So there's times where Coach Del Rio could be better. There's a lot of times where us as players can be better and execute the call. So, obviously as a defensive coordinator, he's going to take most of the blame from the public. But as players, we have to understand that we're not holding our end of the bargain up either.
Right. All right, John. Hey, tough week, but I guess another shot to try to get back in the mix here and get a dub this week. We'll talk to you on Monday.
Sweet, sounds good. Appreciate you guys.
All right,
Enjoy
thank
your
you,
week.
buddy.
Thank you.